I guess I'll say a couple of words to introduce Larry. So Larry's our principal engineer for the MOC. He's been a long-term he's a distinguished engineer. Okay, so distinguished engineer for the MOC Alliance, and we've been working together for many years on this effort, and I'd like Larry to introduce Jon.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I've been here, I think, at all the workshops you've ever had. I'm working at 2 Sigma. I'm happy to introduce Jon Stumpf. He's our head of infrastructure and operations, or whatever the official title is. Before 2 Sigma, he was at Johnson & Johnson and Moody's and AIG. But the real thing that's exciting about him is that he was part of the Olympics and distributing the media for the Olympics, which is another connection to Iran. But I also just want to say a little bit about 2 Sigma, that it's a high-tech trading company, and the modelers are the thing that makes us money. And the modelers just want more computers and more data. Don't change anything else. Just give us more computers and more data, and keep doing that. And Jon's job is to keep things not only running, but knowing that they really want more memory, and they really want it to be secure, they really want it not to fail, and look to the future and but they just say, don't do anything, just give us more computers. And so Jon is able to navigate both the short term and the long term, which I think is totally awesome. And I think that's part of why MOC is in the mix. So let's make a welcome.
So the first part of my talk is going to be directed at folks who are either suppliers or consumers that are considering participating in the MOC Alliance. And then I'm going to talk about some of the research that we're doing with MOC that's of interest to 2 Sigma. But first, I'll tell you a little bit more about 2 Sigma. We consider ourselves a financial services company, or science company. We believe in the scientific method, applying that to financial markets, and we've been doing that since 2001 when we were founded, taking advanced technology, data science, and applying that to algorithmic trading. That's how we make our customers money. Our businesses, our investment management, securities, which is our broker-dealer that participates in a lot of market-making activities. We also apply our work to things like insurance, real estate investing, private investments, a variety of things that are data intensive. So our history of our relationship is at the inception of the MOC Alliance. Larry, who introduced me, has been here since the beginning, has been working with Iran, and it's actually through a discussion that I had with Larry that led me to me being introduced to Iran. And we began with all of our security profile is such that we have been working on our own computers in our own data centers, and there was a very strong reluctance to moving to anything outside of our control, particularly to the public cloud. And when we started having discussions, prior to my getting there, when we started having discussions, there was a lot of angst about that. And those discussions led to the Amass Open Cloud to talk about what, in particular, were our security concerns. And as it turned out, there were a number of others that were interested, particularly Air Force, Lincoln Labs. We were concerned about both external and internal threats when using the cloud. And we were concerned about how do we appropriately assign the resources that you find in the cloud. And my participation with MOC is now focused on network attestation, improving the security of the pre-OS boot environment. So powering on the device to the handoff to the operating system. And that's what I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Now, in addition to infrastructure research, we also looked at ways to load data faster. That's a huge problem in the work that we do. When we talk about the data science that we do, eventually you have that data, you want to do some form of transform to produce a result, to make decisions. That led to work that we did for a project that was called Fridge Cache, not to be confused with the open source project Fridge, which is very similar, but different for some reason. E4N was something that was worked on here. I think it was your research, someone's research here. This led to work that another internal project called JAX that does a lot of cache optimization of data across our entire infrastructure. We also were looking at Python, making that a primary language for our development. Most of our work was always in Java. Python is now something that we use on a regular basis. And that led us to looking at Jupyter Notebooks. And the challenge we had was we wanted something that would be more language agnostic, and that led us to develop a tool called BeakerX. And the MOC put us in touch with Red Hat, and they helped us move this more advanced, capable notebook, and helped us increase the community and build a community around the BeakerX and the open source. So that was a huge benefit to us to get others' perspectives to enable and grow this technology for us that we use heavily internally. And then lastly, we started working with Keyline back in 2017. There was interest there. One of my former colleagues at Two Sigma that's still working with us very closely started with Keyline, and now that interest is revived because we're looking for a network attestation server, which happens to be something that we can use to work in this pre-OS boot environment. So the thing I wanted to talk about, just the mutual benefits that we receive from having this, the alliance, the word alliance, a union or an association for mutual benefit is something that comes into play very much here. We collaborate on a number of research topics simply through discussions that led us to discuss. I met Hugh Brock from Red Hat, George James from IBM. All these were introductions that were facilitated through this alliance that helped us explore the ideas that are actually coming, being developed into actual solutions that we're going to be using at Two Sigma. The other things that, in terms of this alliance, we use a lot of hardware on-prem. This hardware, when it is past its useful life for us, we actually donate all of the hardware to the MOC Alliance for their use, so it can continue to develop and benefit. And where we're going with this, the talk just before on the hybrid cloud, one of the issues that I'm dealing with in the firm, 10 years ago, we were worried about going to the public cloud. And now the problem that I'm dealing with is dealing with what I refer to as the faithful. These are the folks that think the cloud is meant for everything. And it's not. It's just another place where you can run your work. And what I'm trying to do is stop this pendulum that has swung and get us to focus on the ability to run our work in the place that makes the most sense. And focusing our development efforts where we can actually make better decisions across the infrastructure that's available to us, whether it be on-premise, off-premise, different clouds. This is an area that we're still debating, as opposed to just simply, we move everything to the cloud. The main thing that we need to see, and this is some of the things that I'm hearing today, you want to have a single operational plane across all of this infrastructure. You want to use the same security model. You want to have the same data presented to you across. You don't want something that's different in managing that creates the complexity that is otherwise wasting your time. So for us, our work actually is very amenable to making decisions at runtime where something runs, because we know what resources it requires, where the data may actually be. We can actually stage things. We just don't have the systems today that actually make those decisions. We take a very simplistic view to where data is. So this is where the work that we're doing, testing these things in the MOC Alliance, is where we have a greater opportunity to advance what's happening inside of Two Sigma. because a lot of the things that we're doing inside of Two Sigma is very focused on our day-to-day, and thinking about these strategic changes to how we might operate is better suited to working or testing inside the MOC. So a little bit about our current work. So the person I mentioned earlier, Trammell Hudson, who used to work at the firm, runs a consultancy, and a project that he started, SafeBoot, is something that we're very interested in. Not only for server devices, but also for our endpoint devices, the laptops that you have in your hands. So there are 5 goals. The main thing here is about running on a device that you trust. So the whole thing is about understanding how you measure that device, how you qualify its use for the purpose that you're assigning to it or expecting it to perform for you. So the things that we do in preparing these devices, we need to have an attestation server that's outside of the device. We want to boot only code that's authorized by our systems, and we want to run on devices that we trust. The main thing that we have left to do is to implement a robust attestation server. And one of the challenges that I have is within my own company again. I learned very early on in my career that when you dictate to your organization something to do, typically what happens is they find reasons to prevent you from doing the very thing that you're asking. So the whole point here is to develop the testing, the results necessary to convince my own staff what is the right way, how we can run these environments in a different way that actually produces a better overall environment. Challenging our working of the systems when they boot introduces a very, very sensitive failure point. If a server comes up and it can't reach the attestation server today, that would mean that it can run. And so what we need to do is a lot of operational testing in a large-scale environment that we can't duplicate on our facilities. The MOC Alliance is going to be providing that kind of test bed for us so that we can actually show the inside operations how it will adapt to this new attestation infrastructure. And we hope to actually apply that to the endpoint devices as well that may be disconnected. And that's going to be a very interesting challenge. What we're going to be doing in the next few months is developing the testing that we have for the software that we're going to be building. We're designing a protocol today, then we're going to be implementing that in a couple of months. We're hoping to leverage Keyline as a potential shortcut to getting this done. And with that, thank you for listening to my talk.
John, we've talked some about SafeBoot already. Do you know what the current status is on getting that upstream, where Trammell is with it? I mean, we think this is really interesting. And I know it's a fair way out for something that we could commercialize and adopt. It's really cool.
So SafeBoot, one of the key components is that it is a stripped down kernel that's going to measure the device for you. This is a kernel and an initRD, and that work is pretty much done at this point. We believe that that's production ready. Right now, the attestation server that we have implemented is simply a YAML database in front of a simple web server that's performing that task, but that's not something that's going to deal with a thundering herd, which I'm very much concerned with. I'm very focused on stable operation and making sure that we understand all of the failure points. I can't test all the failure points that I can contemplate, and I know we'll find new ones, and that's where the MOC Alliance comes in. That's where using their test bed and frankly having a ton of other people, beat that thing, because I need to be able to show where it's going to break. I want to know all the failure points, and I can't use my staff to do that. We don't have the resources. So Safe Boot as a product, we think is ready. And we're actually looking to employ that on the endpoints as well. So there's the end user devices, the laptops that you have, they're purpose-built devices. It's not a standard operating system build. We certify the hardware, we certify the operating system, and then we put bits on top of it. Competitive solutions are only things that are available to 3- and 4-letter agencies, and I don't qualify to buy them, so we have to roll our own. That's the level of security profile that we have. So SafeBoot is improving both on the server side and the endpoint side, and that's where it came from. The SafeBoot was actually meant for the end user devices first, but this is what we're going to be doing going forward. And we're also future thoughts are how we might apply that to cloud if there is a use case for it. Don't know yet. Okay, thank you very much.